Welcome back to Up Past Bedtime. I'm Bella Messina and I am going to be staying up late with you tonight. Welcome back, girlies. It has been a while since we have had a little bit of a one-on-one chat because I have had 2 guest episode weeks back to back and I love having guests on Up Past Bedtime. I think it is the funnest time. I love bringing new perspectives to the mic. I love having open conversations, but I also love just having a little chat with you all, catching up, touching base, sharing about what's going on in my life in like a long format. So that is what we are going to be doing today. We are going to be having a little bit of a besties chat and I am just going to give you a life update on all the things that have been going on for me. So let's get into it. Welcome to Up Past Bedtime with me, Bella Messina, your go-to girl for those late-night unfiltered conversations. You know, the ones you have with your closest girlfriends. No topic is off limits here. I'll either be hosting chats with some incredible women or sharing my own real stories as a 20-something mother of 2. UPB is for us to feel seen, heard, and understood. So let's stay up late and talk about all the things that matter. After all, the best conversations happen when you're up past bedtime. I do have a little bit of notes to follow for this life updates because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss a single point because I've had quite a bit that's been going on for me lately. And then I did put on the UPB stories, like if anyone had anything specifically they wanted to ask me or for me to talk about, I'm going to get to that at the end, okay? My oh my, have I had a big couple of weeks. The first thing that I kind of want to talk about, because I'm just going to yap this episode. So just like settle in, get comfy. If you're driving, turn your aircon up, recline your seat a little bit to a safe capacity. I don't know, if you're at home, grab a tea, grab a wine. I don't know what time of the day it is you're listening to this because I'm just going to be like chat this whole episode, okay? So first things first, you guys know that I am renting a home for the first time, okay? So I moved from my parents' house when I was 19 into the house that Adrian bought as our like first home. And then we lived in that for like 7 years together, I think. And then we bought our like second family home with his parents. So we moved into that. So I've never rented. I've never had roommates. I've never rented. I've never had to deal with anything to do with a house that is not mine. And I have had a lot of interesting experiences the last couple of weeks with being a tenant and dealing with landlords and real estate agents. And I was going to say all that good stuff, but sometimes it's not that good. So long story short, we have fucking rats in the roof of this house. Disgusting, okay? And I've known since the week that I moved into this house that there has been something living in the fucking roof, okay? Because I called the real estate agent. I was like, hey, there is some type of animal in the roof. And to be honest, I just thought it was a possum this whole time. I just thought like a little possum had like made a little comfy little nest up there and was just like living its best life. And while it's not ideal, I was like, whatever. Like it's not my house. Oh, what just happened? My bloody headphones just ran out of battery. So hopefully the sound quality is okay as I continue on recording because that's why I wear headphones. But as I was saying, that's not really my problem. Like possums can like destroy your like roofs and like if they pee and stuff up there, like it's a bit gross. But I was like, it's not my house that it's damaging like the roof of. Possums are like pretty harmless. Like it'd be great if they could get it out ASAP, but I'm not like going to stress about it. And then you know, as the months have gone on, like the scratching up there has gotten more significant. Then I started hearing like something getting killed up there. And then I was like, oh my God, is that actually a snake up there? Like what the frick is in my roof? I'm calling the real estate agent. I'm like, hey, like, can we please get someone out here to clean out my fucking roof? Because this is disgusting. After eventually being like, hey, it's actually like by law required that you come and like get this animal out. You can't have vermin living in a rental property. They finally got like a possum man out. He goes up there. He's like, hey, so you have like so many rats up here. This is not possums. And I was mortified. I was like, oh my freaking God. I have just been living my best life listening to the rats scratch at the top of my house. I love this house. I really don't. Like I have extended my lease. I don't want to move out. I'm like trauma bonded to this house, I think, at this point. Like it just has the best vibes. So I've been dealing with the stress of trying to get the rats out of my roof for like the last week. And yeah, it's just been very eye-opening to what it's like being a tenant. I've been a landlord and I feel like we are very prompt with everything that we have to do as a landlord. That's why you pay to have property managers, and that's why tenants pay rent, like, is to have those things managed. So it's so wild to watch like it from the other perspective for the first time and be like, oh, this is very, very interesting. We also have a massive heat problem in this house. Like there's very little like cooling options. We live in Queensland or southeast Queensland, which is like the cooler part of Queensland, but still it's freaking hot compared to the rest of Australia. So I've also been like going to battle to be like, we need more cooling options in this house because like the rooms are so freaking hot that I'm scared my like children are going to get heat stroke, and they're sleeping in my primary bedroom because that's the only room that has any type of like air. Like it has aircon in there, but none of the rooms have security screens. You can't have the windows open. None of them have ceiling fans, and only my room has an aircon. So I'm also hoping that is going to get fixed next week. But yeah, it's been definitely interesting to experience, being a renter, and also like in my marriage, like these type of jobs were not things that I would have handled. Like I would have told my ex-partner like, hey, this has happened, or I can hear this in the roof or whatever. But it was always like, I used to call them blue jobs and pink jobs. And like something like this, like dealing with the real estate agent, that would have been a blue job. So it's also been really interesting to like try and handle it all myself and be the one that's like the point of contact. If you see me over the next couple of weeks, don't forget to check in and ask me how my rats are in my DMs. I'm thinking of giving them little names because they all hours of the day, so I can hear them up there living their best life, running around, skittering around. I didn't realize like rats could make so much noise. I think when you think of rats, you think of like little tiny little things, but they're actually huge, humongous things. So love that for me, just me and the girlies and the vermin in our freaking roof and walls. Also what happened this week is we had the girls we had Benny start daycare for the first time ever. And then Rosie has gone into pre-kindy this year. So we go to a daycare that has a daycare, and then it has a pre-kindy and a kindy all within like the one sort of building. So Rosie has moved up into the pre-kindy section. So it's just pretty much like an in-between daycare and kindy where they kind of get them ready to go to kindy next year, which will be Rosie's year for kindy, which was really exciting for her, and we were really proud of her that she made it into the pre-kindy class because there are a few requirements that we were struggling on for her to get there, mostly around her speech and her toileting, and she met both of those things. So we were really, really happy, and she made it into the pre-kindy room. She's with a lot of her friends and she's so happy about that, which we were like, yay. And then, Benny started daycare for the first time ever, which I actually wasn't really that nervous about her starting daycare. I have been really blessed to be given two children who are very confident extroverts. They are both very social. They don't have any issues going into social situations. They don't have any issues making friends. They aren't particularly clingy to like either of Adrian or I, but out of the two, Benny is the quieter one. I do that in quotations though, because Benny is by no means quiet. She is very cheeky and very confident, but just compared to Rosie, she is like more docile, but she is not docile, if that makes any sense. But Benny took it like a champ. When we passed her over to like the educator, she was a little bit like, oh, what's going on? But I guess that's to be expected. Like she's never been in care before. She's kind of like, where are you going, mum? Like what's happening? But she's absolutely smashed the last couple of days. Yeah, slept, ate, interacted in activities, made friends. Well, as much friends as you can at 18 months. I feel like she's 19 months. I feel like at 19 months, like they kind of still just play next to each other. They don't really like interact with each other. I'm not really going to be expecting to see that from her, like actually making friends and doing friendly stuff. Probably until the end of the year, like 2.5. Between 2 and 2.5 is usually when they start to like actually make connections. Whereas like at Rosie's age, like she's 3 and a bit, like they're fully like friends and like they know their friends' names and they're excited to go see their friends and their teachers and whatever. Benny's not really at that stage yet, but she's having fun and she's been loving it. We did do first day of daycare together, and by we, I mean my ex-husband Adrian and I. So it was actually a Thursday, which is his day, and he always has the girls on a Thursday, and I just got up really early, went over to his house. We got the girls ready together. We took some family photos. We took some photos of the girls with their first day boards, because our daycare, because it has the kindy in it, goes with the school year. So it was technically the first day, for them on that Thursday, even though Rosie had been going the whole centre, everyone switches over and it's considered the first day, and all the new kids come in and whatever. Yeah, we did that, and that was so fine. Everyone always asks how do you find it when you go and do those things together? And honestly, I'm not just saying this to save face on the internet or whatever. When it comes to co-parenting, Adrian and I truly have zero issues. We are really blessed in the fact that we both really align on the parenting front and our parenting goals and the goals we have for the girls and how we want to see them raised. So we actually barely ever disagree about anything to do with the girls. We're very much on the same page when it comes to their care and what we want for them, which is incredible. And then I think because we're so aligned on what we want for them, we find it very easy to co-parent together, and we just know to put everything aside when it comes to us doing stuff for the girls. So when we co-parent together, there is no tension. It's not awkward. The girls don't find it uncomfortable. It is very natural and flowing and great. Now, ask me if you put Adrian and I in a room together just by ourselves and asked us to talk about our relationship, our romantic relationship, how would that go? Probably horrifically. We would probably end up punching on by the end of it, not physically, but it would not be a fun time for anyone. There would be lots of fighting, lots of bickering, lots of tension. So we couldn't do that. And I'm not even going to try and pretend oh my God, we are best friends still, even though we're divorced. No, it's not like that. But when it comes to parenting, we are very amicable, very aligned, and we get on really well in that one section. And I'm really, really grateful for that, because it means that we can do milestones together, like we did Christmas together. Now we've done first day of daycare, school, whatever, which is really great. And I think we're both very grateful that we can do that and we can maintain that amicability for the girls, because it makes it very comfortable for them. They got to have both their parents there for drop off. We got to take photos together. We got to both experience, Benny's first drop off. And yeah, it was just a really nice, pleasant sort of experience. Of course, it is still a bizarre thing, because not only is our separation and now we're going through the divorce process really fresh, it's also just weird to have been with someone for 10 years and then to move into a new type of relationship with them, because that's what I say to people all the time. Just because we're not romantically in a relationship anymore doesn't mean we're not in relationship with each other, because we will always have a relationship on some type of level for the rest of our lives, because we have children together. And that's one thing we always remind ourselves every single time we come up to something is hey, don't forget, you and I for the rest of our lives are going to have to be associated with each other, because we have two beautiful children together, okay? So we just have to get along in some capacity. We have no choice but to be, we don't think we have any choice but to be friendly. So we kind of just both have to zone in on that mindset and be is this little bickering we're about to have over something so silly worth making us both miserable over the 50 years, or is it something that we can just put aside so that we can all get along and have a really happy, nice life together? Because we're going to be together no matter what in some capacity. It's still awkward to have been with someone for so long and then to be in a really weird, different relationship with them. And I shared on my subscribers story on right after I did drop off that in the morning when we were getting the girls ready or whatever, because we got these little first and last day boards, and it says it's first day of, and then you write grade 1, grade 2 for us. We were pre-kindy and daycare for the girls. And there's little sections where you can write this is how tall they are. This is their age. This is who their teachers are. This is, what they like, things like that. And you take a picture and it's just a memento you can keep. And I stupidly ordered Benny a pink board, and we had already got this board last year for Rosie, and I thought the board that I had for Rosie was also pink when I was ordering Benny's. I didn't check. I didn't go into storage and pull it out. I was just like, no, it's pink. So I ordered Benny a pink board. And then when I was looking, like when I got them out, I was like, oh no, Rosie's is actually white and Benny's is pink. But I was like, it won't be that big of a problem. Don't ask me why I thought that, because I have a freaking 3-year-old. So of course it was a problem that her sister had a pink board and Rosie had a white board. So in the end, I just let Rosie hold Benny's pink board with all Benny's like stats on it, and Benny just held Rosie's board, and it was what it was. And I was like, whatever, we're not going to fight over this. But at first, when I was trying to be like to Rosie, no, like the pink one's Benny's and yours is the white one, and she was having like a meltdown, when I was like flustered, I just by instinct said to Adrian, babe, can you just get like this? And then we both just kind of like stopped and looked at each other, and I was like, did I just call you babe? Like, we're going through an active divorce. Like, you're definitely not my babe. But because my brain has just like associated his face with the word babe, because that's what I used to call him when we were together, I guess when I was just like not really proactively thinking and being flustered, I just slipped out like, hey babe, can you do this? And it was so funny. We both just kind of looked at each other and neither of us acknowledged it. Like, we just straight went back into whatever we're doing. I was like, can you just grab that? Can you grab that? And internally I was like, yeah, that is so awkward and uncomfortable. And I'm really hoping that I'm not the first divorcee to have accidentally done something like that. I did message one of my friends about it, and she was like, don't worry, just wait until you're somewhere with your ex and then your daughters say, Mummy and Daddy kiss now. She was like, that's happened to me. And I had to be like, no, Mummy and Daddy don't kiss. Mummy and Daddy are just friends. I was like, oh my God, don't even like put that energy into my universe. That sounds horrific to deal with. But yeah, just saying, hey babe, was enough. And it kind of put like this really awkward sort of like vibe on the whole rest of the drop off. Like, it was fine, but we were both just kind of like, I don't know what to do now. And it was so funny. We like did drop off, and at our daycare, they have a barista that makes free coffee for all the parents, which is godsend. Every daycare should do that. It is so worth it. We pay so much freaking money for daycare anyway, so why not? And you like kind of put your coffee order in, and then you go and drop your kids, and then when you come out, your coffee's like waiting for you, which is incredible. And Adrian and I sort of did like a staggered leave. So like I gave Benny to the educator. I said bye to Rosie, and then Rosie was still with Adrian, sort of like talking and whatever. I said bye to Rosie. Then I gave Benny like a little kiss, gave her to the educator, said bye to Benny, and then I walked out, and then Adrian had already said bye to Benny, and then he said bye to Rosie, and then he walked out. So it wasn't just like us both leaving at the same time, being like, bye, see ya. And so I went out and I got my coffee, and then I was like, oh, I'll grab Adrian's coffee as well to the guy. And then he was like, oh, here's a coffee for you and here's a coffee for your handsome husband. And then I just like on impulse was like, haha, ex-husband. And I was like, ugh. And then the guy, like his eyes, the barista's eyes just like widened. He was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, no, it's fine. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like one of those people that, I don't know, like anyone listening, if you've ever worked in like hospitality or retail, like, you know, when someone walks in, you're like, hey, how you going? Like, you're kind of just saying it as like a bit of small talk and nicety, thinking they're going, good, thanks, like just browsing, or, you know, good, thanks, like just looking at the menu, whatever industry you're in. But then you're like, hey, how you going? And then you'll have like one random customer like, oh, I'm having the worst day. Like my grandma died and I'm here looking for an outfit for their funeral and this, that, the other. And you're just kind of there like, oh my God, like just say thank you and move on, like type of thing. I was like, oh, I've turned into that person in that moment when I was like, oh, that's my ex-husband. I was like, why did I say that? So then that was so awkward. I like grabbed the drink. Adrian came out, like gave him his, you know, coffee and was like, okay. We were like walking to the door together. We kind of get to like where we go to leave. And it's so weird. Like this is what I mean by you've been with someone for so long, you kind of just have things like my instant reaction was like to lean in, give a kiss and say like, okay, have a good day. Talk to you later. Like, you know, like we have for the last however many years of being together. And it was just so weird. We both just kind of like stood there, looked at each other and I was like, okay, well, bye. I just walked out. I was like, I think I said have a good day or like have a good day at work or something like that, like something really weird. And I was like, bye. And just like left. And it was the weirdest experience. I got in the car and just like was laughing like, wow, how times have changed, because that was so bizarre to do that experience with someone and then just be like, okay, well, bye, see you later. I do say to people, like, I really hope that, you know, once our divorce has finalized and settled, which, you know, is going to be a little bit. And then we have like had some time to like heal and process and whatever. I do really have big hopes that Adrian and I could be friendly. I don't ever think we'll be like best friends, but you know, to be friendly would be really nice. And people always say like, oh, well, just wait until they have like a partner or all this. And to be honest, I don't know, I haven't experienced it. So, you know, I could eat my words later down the track, but I'm really hoping that like, as long as whoever, you know, is in the picture is really lovely to the girls and is really respectful to my role as their mother, I don't see why him having a partner should ever affect that. You know, I would like him to be really happy, and yeah, I don't want him to be single forever if he doesn't want to be single forever. And I would hope that, you know, if he found someone else, you know, they could just come and join us in doing all of those things. Like if they wanted to come to first day, great. 3 people to love on our kids. Like, I don't know, to me that sounds amazing and that sounds really happy. I think the more people that love your children, the better, you know, as like I said, as long as everyone's respectful and I respect their boundaries, they respect my boundaries, I don't see why that should impact how Adrian and I get along and, you know, how we can be involved in the girls' lives as a family unit. Yeah, I would really like to think of it as just another person in the girls' life to get along. We actually have friends of ours that their parents separated and then the dad got a new partner and he's now been with that new partner for like 10 years. And the mum has never found like another partner so far. And they do stuff all the time together, all the time. Every milestone, both parents are together with the new partner, and it's really inspiring to see. And I say to our friends all the time, like, you know, I wish I could be like your parents when Adrian and I have a little bit more time to settle. Like that would be really amazing how everyone gets along and, you know, everyone puts everything aside for the good of your family. And it's not like they're not just doing that, but are secretly like fighting behind closed doors or whatever. It's like genuinely everyone gets along and have accepted that they're better separated and they can all sort of live in harmony. We were actually at that friend's 30th birthday and his mum and the stepmom were like dancing together on the dance floor and like everyone was like really getting along, and I looked at it and was like, that's really inspiring. And yeah, I hope that that can be me one day. Again, I've not been there. I've not had to go down that path. So it's easier said than done, but that is my hopes, dreams and plans. And yeah, I was thinking about that on the daycare drop-off where I was like, I hope we can, you know, be able to keep doing this together and it, you know, be fine and amicable and not a big deal. Like I didn't get into the car and like burst into tears because I had to do a milestone, you know, and then Adrian and I were separated. Like I actually was really happy in the sense of like, that went really well. There was no dramas. The girls were really happy. They're going to have a good day. I can feel it. And you and I didn't have any fights. Like it was actually nice. There was no part of me that was like really depressed or sad. Like a little bit of me was like, oh, that was, you know, weird not being a married couple doing that experience, but it was still nice to have him as my team member and co-parent through that experience. So yeah, it wasn't as upsetting as I was anticipating it to be, which I was really, really happy about. And yeah, the girls smashed it. They had the best time. I knew Rosie would be fine. She's super social. I was pretty confident Benny would be fine, and she was. So all round, daycare was a really good experience. It does officially mark the end of me being a stay-at-home mum though, which is confronting. I thought that I would be a stay-at-home mum for the rest of forever, or, you know, at least a stay-at-home mum who had a side hustle while the kids were at school or, you know, whatever. But I guess it wasn't meant to be. When I posted on TikTok that my stay-at-home mum era had ended, I had a lot of people saying like, oh, what are you going to do for a job now then? Which I was like, oh, I thought it was cute. But what I'm going to do now, at least for right now, because I love it and it pays the bills and it does well, is what I'm currently doing, which is social media. So I have my personal brand. So like all my, you know, personal pages that I post content and brand deals on. And then I have the podcast, and then I have subscriptions as like a really tiny little complimentary thing. And then, you know, any affiliate links and stuff like that. That's pretty much how you generate income as an influencer. For now, that's enough. It covers what I need it to cover, so I can't complain about that. But yeah, the girls will be in daycare. I don't want to say like how many days or which days, just for safety and privacy reasons, but they will be in daycare because Adrian works and I will be working now. But they're still going to have some days at home with me, which is really nice. We've managed it in a way that they are going to get a few days at home with me and then be in daycare the rest of the days, which will be, I think, a nice balance. It allows me to work and then also have some one-on-one time with the girls, because we didn't want them in full-time daycare if it wasn't, completely necessary. So Adrian and I had a discussion about that, and we kind of did it in a way that they could kind of have a bit of both worlds, which is really great. So that's what we're going to try and do. But yeah, I just don't feel like the setup we have anymore allows me to call myself a stay-at-home mum anymore. I used to call myself a stay-at-home mum because I had Benny at home with me 5 days a week. And before Rosie went to daycare, she was also at home with me. And then, Rosie was home with me part-time, Benny home with me full-time. Anyway, I just, don't feel like I can say I'm a stay-at-home mum anymore, but I was really grateful for the experience of having all that time at home with my babies. And I can't complain in any sense. It was a real blessing and a real privilege, and I'm really lucky that we were able to afford to allow me to be at home, and I don't think I would ever change that time for the world, but it is time for a new chapter. So that was, a lot to process and think about, but I'm glad I've done it and I know it's the right decision, and I'm ready for whatever this next chapter will bring. And I know that the girls know that they are so deeply loved by us both, and they still get beautiful time with both of us. So there's no mum guilt. I'm not allowing any mum guilt on that front. I think, they have the best time at daycare, especially both being girls who are very extroverted. They love going to daycare. Outside of that, the other big thing that has sort of been happening lately for me is my divorce process has officially started as of January. I get a lot of questions about this because when I say I'm getting divorced, people are like, oh, but can't you not get divorced until 12 months, like after the date of separation? And that is correct. You cannot legally file for divorce until 12 months after you officially register that you have been separated. However, the only thing that you have to wait 12 months for is submitting to the courts that you are actually going to get divorced. You can pretty much do every other thing up until then. So you can do your financial settlement, you can do your custody arrangements, you can do property settlements, anything else you can do. The only thing you can't do within 12 months is get remarried to someone else, okay? Because you're technically still married to someone. So it's kind of like how people can be estranged but are still like married for years and years and years, even though they don't live together, they separated all their assets, they did all of that, but they're technically still married. That's kind of how that works. So you don't just like separate and then not do anything for 12 months. Like if you have assets together or if you have children together, usually you will start doing the process of getting ready for your divorce filing. So you can, do binding financial agreements and like separate things. You can do, custody agreements before the 12 months. All of that can get organised whenever you want. So we've kind of started that process and given ourselves like the time for when we can officially file for divorce at the end of this year, because we didn't register that we had officially separated for a while. So we have to wait until that date. We both decided, I've announced this on the podcast, I've put it in comments on social media, we have decided that we are happier and better off officially separated. So we will be filing for divorce, and we are just currently going through the process of doing that, which is very overwhelming, very daunting. We have a lot, our whole lives are intertwined. I had been with him since I was 18. So literally everything of ours has been together. We've had businesses together. We have properties together. We have bank accounts together. We have everything together. And that takes a really long time to go through that process of going through all of that and deciding what goes where and who gets what. And so that's probably going to take a while to go through that process, and it is very stressful. Let me tell you, if you are getting divorced and you have assets that you have to separate and you have to have family lawyers and stuff so you can get official documents done up or whatever, it's really fucking expensive, okay? It is fucked up expensive. If you think getting married is expensive, don't get married, because if you have to get divorced, and let me tell you, 50% of marriages end in divorce, that is the statistic, is very freaking expensive to pay divorce lawyers, okay, to pay family lawyers. It costs a lot of money. Even ours is not we're not even having fighting where it's you can't have this and you can't have that. We're not even having any of that, and it's still very expensive just to send a few letters and get a few documents signed. But this is a reminder to all the galleys out there, make sure, even if you have the most amicable, agreeable husband, please get your custody arrangements officiated and drawn up properly, get your financial agreements officiated and drawn up properly. It just keeps everyone accountable. It keeps everything clean, and then there's no need for bickering and fighting because it's already been sorted and written down X, Y, and Z. So yeah, we're just going through that process at the moment, which has been really overwhelming. It has taken up a lot of time because there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of paperwork, like an insane amount of paperwork to go through just to, get everything ready, because there's a thing that's called like disclosure, which is like where you have to pretty much list every single thing you guys owned, made, or had in your marriage. And that takes a really freaking long time. It's just like a really interesting process. I don't know, like if anyone's listening and they've gone through like this divorce process legally, they would kind of understand what I'm talking about when it's like a bit overwhelming. But luckily, everyone's getting along and it's really fine and there's no big issues. And once again, I'm just really grateful for that fact, because I know that is not the reality for a lot of women or even men. Like I know sometimes it can be heaps of fighting, heaps of difficulties, heaps of like pettiness and whatnot. And I'm grateful that so far that has not been a problem for us. And I'm hoping it will not be a problem for us moving forward. But it's still draining and it's still a lot to deal with. So I've also been going through that process. A lot of people have asked sort of how the girls have been coping with the separation, the divorce, and I think surprisingly they have been doing amazingly well. Happily, they've been doing amazingly well. The benefit and why they have taken it so in their stride is because they have each other. So they are, of course, very close in age. There's only 18 and a bit months between them. And I think they haven't been as disrupted as I anticipated because they have the consistency of always having each other. So no matter whose house they're going to, no matter what they're doing, they have the other. In my house, they share a room. At Adrian's house, their rooms are next to each other. They do swimming lessons together. They do daycare now together. They eat their meals together. They have each other no matter what. And so I think that allows them to have like stability and consistency even when they are swapping between our houses, because we do 50-50. And so for that, I will be forever grateful that we decided to do 2 under 2, because I know that no matter what happens, they will always have each other and will always have that bond and connection and stability in each other, and the other one being there. And I think that's why they have adjusted really well. Of course, on days when we do handover, there are big emotions and tantrums and whatnot. That is so very normal. We have also, like I go to therapy. I've talked to my therapist a lot. We are just going to start like doing some family therapy to kind of help the girls with this adjustment. And I have been reassured that those big emotions is very, very normal. That it's actually very normal for them to do that for the first couple of days after swapping over a house. And they can do that, well into their like preteens. And it's something to be expected. And it doesn't mean that they're not coping very well. It's just a normal child reaction. They don't have the same emotional regulation as adults do. They don't understand emotional complexities that come with relationships and love, like family. They're very abstract concepts that kids cannot physically grasp. Like their brain does not have the developmental processes to be able to grasp those concepts. So it can be confusing, or they can feel a whole range of conflicting emotions that they are not able to put into logical boxes. And that's really confronting for them. And so, of course, they're going to have some big emotions, and that's fine. We both just prepare for that. And I think, considering I am so proud of them and they have done so well, I think it does help that Adrian and I do not fight in front of the children. We do not allow any tension in front of the children. We've stayed pretty close to that. Like we've only ever had one slip up. And then, after that, we were like, we can never fight in front of the kids again. Like that was unacceptable. We're not doing that. And that was a while ago, and we haven't had that situation ever happen again. We both know each other's boundaries. We know the limits. And so we try and make handover for the girls as smooth as possible. We are hopefully going to try and transition doing a lot of our handover as well through daycare, i.e. one parent drops off in the morning and one parent picks up in the afternoon on handover days, to try and just reduce the amount of like parent-to-parent handover where the girls get passed from one to the other. We just think having the daycare in the middle might be a nice transition period for them. They don't have to be confused of seeing Adrian and I together, multiple times a week. We'll still do one, in-person handover like between us two every week. And then we're hoping that the other handovers will be fine. I always get asked all the time, like, are you guys, planning on doing like week on, week off custody with the girls? And the answer to that is no, not until they are a bit older. I think 7 days without either one of their parents is very confusing. And, there's so much developmentally that happens so quickly when they're that little that it's like you can miss a lot in 7 days. And I think, it's nice that they have that touch time with both parents and they are able to build those relationships without it being too long a gaps between seeing them. Selfishly as well, I don't think at this point when they're so little, I could go 7 days without them. So no, we are happy doing our sort of setup that we have decided where we kind of have like some swapping every, 3 to 4 days. And that really works well for us. So we're going to continue that until both the girls are in school and settled in school. And then we might look at changing to week on, week off. I don't have a crystal ball and I try not to plan too far ahead because things change all the time and circumstances change. But for now, we are not looking at doing week on, week off. And I don't think we'll plan on looking at it for a good little while. Benny's only 19 months. She's still little. And I think for a 19-month-old, 7 days without her mum or 7 days without her dad is a really long time. The other thing I have constantly been getting asked, and because I have just talked about divorce, I guess I'll bring it up, is everyone has been begging me to do a dating episode. So I did put in my 2025 goals that I wanted to get back into the dating pool. And I did download my first ever dating app. I made a profile on that. It was an interesting experience. I shared that on my subscribers. It is the first time I've ever been on a dating app. And I asked them like, would you guys like me to do a podcast episode on this? I have screenshots. I have funny stories to tell. And it was like a resounding yes from everyone. So next week for Valentine's Day, I will be doing a dating episode. I'm just sharing that because one, when I put my question box on Life Update, what I wanted everyone to know, I literally probably got 50 questions about dating. So it is coming. It is coming for Valentine's Day. We're going to be doing Galentine's Day over here on UPB. And I am sharing about my very limited dating experience, my new dating experience after almost a decade. So make sure you come back for that next week. Like I was saying, I did put questions on the UPB stories for people to leave, any topics they wanted to ask me about current life updates or anything they wanted me to dive into more. I chose 8 of them. There were so many. A lot of them was either stuff I'd already covered before in previous episodes. So if you haven't listened to all the UPB episodes, go back and you might get some answers to some of those questions that were left, or they had to do with, episodes that I'm going to be doing coming up. This first question that was left for me made me cackle out loud. It was, would you ever go on maths? So Married at First Sight. And the answer to that is hell fucking no. As an autistic girly, the idea of having to be paired up with a stranger and live with them and sleep in the same bed as them is my literal worst nightmare. I'm an extrovert, but even that is too much for this ASD girly. What do you mean I can't have mute time? What do you mean I can't have my own space and like my own bed? I have to be with some freaking random. And what if I don't like you? And what? I've just got a mask for like the next however many weeks? Like, I think I would be the boringest person on maths because if I didn't like someone, I don't have like the social skills to be able to just pretend that I like them to stay on the show or to create drama or a storyline. I'd just instantly be like, I don't like this person. I want to get off this show now. Like, I can't do this. I can't mask for that long. I'm exhausted. So no, it would not be my cup of tea. I don't know. And I could be wrong, but I just feel like no one actually goes on maths anymore for love. Like they go on for like social boost or acclaim. And I just also don't have any interest in that. I like my community on the internet and I don't feel the need to have to go out and like go on a national TV to try and grow it. Like if people want to come over and find me and join this journey, I'm so happy for you to do that, but I am not marrying a random stranger on the internet to do that. I think the only reality show I would ever do would be Big Brother. I've always been obsessed with Big Brother. I would love to do that. Someone else said, how are you enjoying Fitstop? Absolutely loving it. I've been consistent with it now since I joined in November. So going at least, 3 times a week. My goal is to try and go 5 times a week. Just that gets like the membership cost at the best price. It turns out to be like just over $10 a session when I do it that way. But 3 days a week is my minimum. I've stayed consistent with that unless the only time was when Benny had chickenpox. I couldn't go because I didn't want to bring the kids and I got like a little bit sick after that. But yeah, I really love it. I love the social aspect of it. I love that it keeps me accountable. accountable. I love that I just show up. I don't have to think. I just do. Yeah, I really, really like it. When I signed up, I did sign up on like a Black Friday deal, which made it significantly cheaper for me. So that was really good, waiting until they did a sale and then taking advantage of that. Someone else said, unrelated, but your lip filler is making me want to get some. Oh my God, the absolute drama llama. That was me getting lip filler on the internet. If you didn't know, if you don't follow me on TikTok, if you didn't see it on Instagram, I did get the teeniest little bit of lip filler. I got 0.5 mil. I always said I would never get lip filler, but I said that when I had much smaller teeth in my mouth. Then I went and got veneers. I absolutely am obsessed with my veneers. I think they look really great. I don't care if anyone else doesn't think they look good. I love them. And the problem is like my veneers are much bigger than my natural teeth because my natural teeth were so tiny. That's why I got veneers, because I wanted like nicer teeth, more normal sized teeth. I think my mouth is designed for, you know, smaller teeth. And so when my teeth got bigger, my lips looked a bit small. And I found when I smiled, my top lip kind of looked like it disappeared into nothing compared to my teeth. And I spent a lot of money on these veneers that I was like, I want to be 100% happy with my smile. And I found myself still smiling with my mouth closed because I didn't like the look of my lip when I smiled. And so I was like, screw it. I'm just going to get this lip filler and hope that it fixes that thing. It definitely has. I love my smile now. I love the 0.5 mil. Everyone was like, you're going to want more. I don't really think I want more. I like it this size. I don't know if I've still got to wait a little bit more and if it'll decrease, but it's been, you know, over a week now. I really like the look of the lips. I think they look fantastic, but everyone was a bit upset because I have mentioned, you know, that this year I'm budgeting and everyone's like, you can't say you're a single mom on a budget if you can go out and afford to get lip filler. And I firstly just want to apologize if I have given off the impression that I, you know, was very, very struggling and couldn't afford basic necessities and, you know, that was the vibe I was giving. That's definitely not the case for me. I thought I had always been transparent that, you know, Adrian and I owned multiple businesses together. We have properties together. You know, I do social media as a job, but I still have had a really big change in my financial circumstance. And I have gone from, you know, having someone that I was financially dependent on to now being financially independent. And that has been a really stressful process to go through. I am now managing all my own money. I'm managing my own bills. I don't have the safety net of a partner that's working. I am still stressed about money. And so that is why I have been budgeting, but budgeting based on my income, my assets, whatever. And I am not unaware that that's probably not the standard single woman income. And so my budget will most definitely probably look different to a lot of single mums out there. And I'm sorry if I tried to come across as being on the same level as a struggling single mum. I did not mean to ever try and make myself, you know, look less fortunate than I am. And so I understand why people were upset about the lip filler when they're like, hey, I thought you were really struggling. That must have been my miscommunication and I'm so sorry about that. I am still budgeting. I did budget for the lip filler. I've had that booked for about a month and a half. And so I budgeted, put aside, I think it was $40 a week or $30 a week for the last month and a half. And I had enough to do the lip filler, which I was really happy about. But yes, I am definitely not on the bones of my ass. I did leave my relationship with $400 to my own name in my own account. That's all I had under an account that was just in my name. But I, you know, have a full-time job, been working full-time. I, you know, have Adrian if I need help with stuff for the girls or whatever. We still are conjoined financially until we go through our divorce and, you know, we've done settlement and then we will separate completely financially. So I just try not to ask anyone for money. I try and do it all myself and that can be really stressful and that's why I'm on a budget and trying to stick to that budget. So that was a very long-winded answer, but I hope that is clear. And again, I want to apologise to anyone that I offended or I didn't communicate that right to. Someone else said, do you still have a relationship with your ex-in-laws? And the answer to that is I don't. There's no bad blood and we don't not get along or, you know, not like each other. But at the moment, there's no real relationship because we're all just taking our time to heal from the separation. Just like Adrian's, you know, not calling my mum all the time and asking to hang out with my mum all the time. I'm also not doing that to his family. I think it's, you know, respectful and polite to let us all have some time to adjust and process and get used to the new normal. I still, you know, occasionally text Adrian's parents, you know, if there's something about the girls I want to share with them, or if I've got to ask them something, like that's totally fine. But I'm not like actively going to dinners at Nonna's or going and doing stuff with his family, because I'm allowing them to be, their family and adjust. Hopefully one day we can all start doing family stuff together, but I think it's totally fair and normal for now to have a little bit of space. Someone said, are you going back to your maiden name? I've been asked this a lot. I've already answered it, but I'll answer it quickly. No, I have no plans to go back to my maiden name ever. I will be keeping Messina. You guys all know me as Messina. I've got my business name is in Messina. It's Messina Co., which is like my social media business, like the overarching business. And I like the name Messina. I like having the same last names as my daughters. It makes it a lot easier. All my license, passport, Medicare, everything is in Messina. It would be a very expensive and long process to switch it all back. And I have no connection to my maiden name. My parents are separated. My mum's got a different name to me. There's just like, I've got no family that also have my maiden name. My dad was an only child. His mother has passed away. So yeah, no, there's really no reason for me to go back to my maiden name. The only time I would change my name is if I got remarried. And there are no plans on me getting remarried anytime soon, or maybe even ever. So I like being Messina, and I will be staying Messina. Someone said, how do you deal with online hate as someone with ADHD and RSD? So RSD is rejection sensitive dysphoria, I'm pretty sure. Pretty much just means that someone with ADHD is usually very hypersensitive to rejection or critical feedback, or people saying they don't like you, people giving critique. And let me tell you, it's a really hard thing for me to deal with. I do get an insane amount of hate on the internet. I am not naive to that. Considering my follower count is not that high at all. Like I only have 120K on TikTok, which I know to the average person sounds like a lot, but in the social media world, that's small. That's considered small. And I get an insane amount of hate. I get more hate than girls who have 500,000 followers. So that's really crazy to me, the amount that I get. And it's a lot to deal with. And I would be a lie if I said, sometimes it really, 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 really significantly affects my mental health, especially when I feel like I try and do the best I can, and I try and be respectful of everyone online, and I try to be a good human and a good mother. And sometimes it feels like if I breathe the wrong way, I have, people just waiting to jump down my throat. And it can be really hard. And to be honest, the only way I can deal with it is I have to pretend it doesn't exist. I have to be a bit delulu on that front. I don't go looking for it. I don't read anything about me. And that's the only way I can do it, because otherwise it can make me very, very depressed. Because I have ADHD, and it's a lot to have negative feedback constantly coming at me. And when I say negative feedback, I don't just mean someone like respectfully sharing a different opinion to mine. I feel like I have always been really open to that, and I've always been really receptive to hearing feedback of someone if they're saying like, hey, like I don't like that you did this or X, Y, and Z. I leave a lot of my negative comments up, and I allow, right of reply and natural discourse in my comment section. I'm talking about people who are just malicious and hateful and nasty for the point of being malicious, hateful, and nasty. And there's nothing they're wanting to see changed, and there's nothing I could do to change their mind. And they just want to make me feel bad and tear me down as a person and be, hateful and vindictive. That stuff really does affect me. So I just pretend that that does not exist, and that is how I do that. And it's kind of the only way. I just, live in a little delulu la la land where that doesn't exist, and that allows me to keep doing the job I love. Someone said, how did you get Benny to sleep through the night without cried out? Who said Benny was sleeping through the night? My 19-month-old has never slept through the night. Ever, 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 ever. She at least wakes twice a night at least. She, is just not the most consistent sleeper. Rosie is a dream unicorn sleeper. Love that for her. Love that for me. Benny has never been that way. So I've never gotten Benny to sleep through the night. We also have never done cried out, because that physically pains me and hurts me, and I can't do it. And I don't know, maybe she would sleep through the night if I just stayed strong and let her cry it out for a couple of nights. But unfortunately, I physically cannot do it. I can't do it. I can't just let my child cry like that. It makes me feel physically ill, and I would just prefer to go in there and lie with her than just let her scream and scream and scream and scream for me. I physically can't do it, and I just don't know how I could ever do it. That's no judgment. I don't judge anyone's parenting style. It's your child. It's your choice. I'm not here to say what people should and shouldn't do. I'm just sharing my own experience and how I feel. We did sleep training with Rosie and it was really successful. To be honest, we never committed to sleep training Benny like we did with Rosie, and it showed. I should have done it again and I didn't. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just the postpartum depression and I couldn't keep to scale. I don't know why I didn't do it, but we didn't do it with Benny and I wish I did. And let me tell you, if I'm ever going to have a third child, I will be going back to sleep training from 6 weeks like I did with Rosie. Because I got too lax with Benny. I let her fall asleep on the boob. I let her cuddle me. I let her do all these things that I never let Rosie do. And I don't know. I don't know if that has anything to do with sleep training or if they're just different temperaments or whatever. But yeah, Benny is a very difficult sleeper. She also, which is leading into the next question, which is Benny lactose intolerant? So yes, she is. Benny has a lactose intolerance, a dairy allergy is what it's like technically classed as, but like the symptoms are the same as lactose intolerance. And I honestly think that the reason for the last, the first year of her life why we had such intense sleep problems was she was lactose intolerant and I did not freaking realize. And she wasn't sleeping because her belly was very sore. And then I feel like now she's just in the habit of waking, and it's been very hard to break that. This person asked if I had any tips for them. I think the really amazing thing about today is that there is so many dairy alternatives now, so many different milks, so many dairy-free cheeses, veganism is such a big thing, which has meant, major food retailers stock lots of vegan products, which is really great for dairy-free. It's a lot easier to have a dairy-free household and not have to miss out on many things. Dairy is actually a really challenging allergy when you go out to eat, and that's something we really struggle with. It's really hard to take Benny to eat at like a cafe or something like that because pretty much everything has frickin' dairy in it. So yeah, we just have to be like, she can't really eat much when we go out, so I don't really take Benny like out for things as much. Like yes, we can use alternatives in like drinks and stuff, so she can get like an oat milk chocolate milkshake or something when Rosie gets a normal dairy one, but when it comes to actual food, it can be really challenging. So I just make sure I always pack dairy-free snacks for Benny in case we go somewhere and I can't choose her a dairy-free option on the menu. And yeah, we just kind of stick to that. The thing with Benny is you can tell instantly when she's accidentally had some dairy. So it's kind of easy to keep on top of. And yeah, I feel like her behavior, her sleep, everything has gotten so much better in the last 6-ish months once we've realized she has a problem with dairy. And we did like cut it, and then we tried when she was coming up to the 18-month mark, the doctor tried to say like, try and introduce it back in because, sometimes by 18 months it's like gone out of their system again, and we couldn't successfully reintroduce it. So she's back on a lactose-free diet. It is a lactose intolerance, not just cow's milk protein allergy, which is the one that usually they grow out of up about 18 months. Yeah, she doesn't have that. It is lactose for her. And yeah, she has to just live dairy-free. At Daycare, she's dairy-free. At home, she's dairy-free. When we go out, she's dairy-free. Everyone in our life knows she's dairy-free. So that's kind of how we deal with that. It's been very interesting to have a child with an allergy. There's just a lot of extra things you got to think about that you don't really ever think about, and it can be really difficult. Oh my goodness, it has just started pelting down rain. So if there's a little interference in the audio, I am so sorry. But they were my major questions I got, and that is my life update. I have yapped for a little bit. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this episode. I've enjoyed just having like a quick little sit down, just like talking about things that have been happening for me. Again, next week we have the dating episode, and then that will be followed by another 2 guest episodes. So I'm not going to really have much time to do another life update. So I'm glad that we got to just like have a little yap, put everything out on the table. Hopefully you guys listened to this while you were like folding some washing or driving somewhere boring with the kids or whatever. And it kind of kept you company, felt like a bestie having a phone call with you and, debriefing about her life. All right, I'm going to love you and I'm going to leave you. Oh my goodness, I haven't said that in a hot minute, have I? I'll see you next week, guys. Sweet dreams.